Hello and welcome to the MB Om podcast, where you will learn to master the business of yoga with guests from around the world who have experienced becoming successful yoga teachers, studio owners, and much more. Now, here's your host, Amanda Kingsmith.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. It's really awesome to have you guys back here, have you listening to the podcast. Today I have a yoga teacher that I really enjoy practicing and teaching with, and he's somebody that I met in Atlanta, Georgia. He teaches at a couple places in Atlanta, but I met him at Active Soul Yoga, which is in the Buckhead area in Atlanta. If you're in the area, I would definitely check him out. His name's Yochai, kind of looks like Yochai, but it's Yochai Weiss, and he is originally from New York, did his training in LA, and then moved over to Atlanta for various different reasons, and now teaches full-time there. And something that struck me about Yochai when I first met him is his teaching style is a little bit different than the sort of typical flow vinyasa style. He's very focused on alignment. He teaches a little bit slower, but the class is definitely not hard. And he challenged me in a way that a lot of other teachers haven't, which is something that drew me to talk to him further. And we got into a lot of lengthy conversations about the body and about being yoga teachers and just yoga in general. So I really wanted to have him on the podcast, and we have pretty extensive conversation about all sorts of topics within the business of yoga. Yochai, as he'll say for himself, has the gift of the gab. So if you feel like it's going off course, just stick with it. It always comes back. He's got some great business tips and tricks and some great knowledge to share with you. So without further ado, here's Yochai. All right, I've got Yochai here with me. It's another in-person interview, which is super cool. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So I wanted to start with how you discovered yoga, how you got into yoga.
Just the short of the long is I was doing martial arts training on Long Island, New York in 2007, around spring. And I just got injured in training there. And rotator cuff injury, and I don't even remember the specifics of it, but I was just driving taxi at the time, so I couldn't drive taxi anymore. And then I started doing a little PT, a little rehab. One of my friends' friend was a PT, so it was by favors. And but I couldn't drive anymore, so I had a hard time finding work. And then one of my friends invited me to come back to Los Angeles. And it was 2007, so there was nothing much going on in New York. So I decided to drive out to LA. And I got there, and then the job fell through, and this fell through, and that fell through. And then I just knew I needed something. And I was working at a paparazzi agency on Abbot Kinney in Venice.
That's interesting.
I wasn't a paparazzi. I was just helping them with some of their database or logging tapes and things like that.
Okay.
And at one of their parties, there was a teacher, I think. So there was a teacher, and she invited me to. She was doing. You've got to try yoga for your shoulder. It'd be great. And I'm like, well, I can't afford it, because in my mind, yoga was like $15, $20, and I had nothing. I literally had nothing in 2007.
Yeah.
And she said, well, it's a donation-based studio. It's at Santa Monica Power Yoga. And I go, okay, what's the suggested donation? She's like, I think it was $10 at the time, or maybe even, I don't think it was 15, I think it was 10 or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I said, I still can't afford it. And
yeah.
She's like, well, what can you afford? And I said, $3. And I'm like, I just figured she's just going to tell me to, go away. But she said, and she said, no, come out for $3. So I think my first, 4 or 5 months of yoga. I think 4 months of yoga, 5 months of yoga was $3 a class, literally at this donation-based studio.
That's awesome.
I just couldn't. That's all I had. And but she was only there once a week, and on Sundays. And after my first yoga class with her, I went back a second week, and then I wanted more. And I asked her, I said, "Where do you teach any other days?" And I think my car was out of commission at the time, so I was limited to being local and on a bike. And so she wasn't there. There was nobody else at the studio. So I said, who else would you recommend? And she said, she recommended a guy named Rudy Mattia, who later on became my teacher. But that's who I stuck with, and I started taking him from both over the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and then I added his Tuesday, Thursday he developed, and just been that way ever since 2007. With the practice waxing and waning here and there, but and generally that's when my head was turned, so to speak.
Yeah.
I tried yoga. I think I was taken to yoga when I was in around 2000 one time, but I think my mind wasn't ready for it because I was there and I was still, I think I was too cynical at the time, and that's when I started doing jiu-jitsu martial arts training just to find that exertion. And but even there, it's really where in the martial arts you need to breathe. Yeah. You need to calm down and breathe, and yoga offers a similar path in a sense. So that's why I think it was a nice. It kind of makes sense in terms of the narrative thread line. Yeah.
At what point were you like, I want to teach this?
So I think my passions ran high in the very beginning, where I don't think I was necessarily good, but I think I was just very diligent in my practice. And I literally just made efforts to be mindful and live it and just be calm and just find bliss wherever I am and however circumstances are, and just kind of take that. And a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, you should teach it. You should do this." And I just get resistant to it. Yeah. I don't know why. I just do. And because of the mentality of who am I? And I suppose, that's what it needs to be, is I am this person who can offer this. So, who am I? So I think eventually, after a couple of friends said, you should do it. My grandmother was telling me, when she was still alive, that I should do it. And eventually just kind of, you stick your toe in the water a little bit here. You take a couple of workshops, you take a couple of, incremental things that lead up to a teacher training. And then eventually, it happens, where you just kind of throw yourself off a cliff to see if you can fly. Yeah. I guess. And mine didn't happen till I didn't get my I didn't get my 200 till I was just before my 40th birthday. And so that's quote unquote late for a lot of people, especially since yoga has become so culturally ingrained. But then, my teacher told me that he didn't get his yoga. He didn't start until, he was in his late 30s, early 40s, which I'm not saying that I necessarily need to cling to that to make myself feel better in comparison to a 25-year-old that's starting out. Yeah. But, certainly my demographic or my niche however you say it, would be, different, I would suppose. But I just like the encouragement that, you can always start at any point in time. Yeah. And just do it. So yeah, that's if that makes sense. I don't know if I answered it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw a meme on Facebook the other day, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was a list of all these famous people, and it was listed what age they became famous doing things, really famous classic writers, painters, that sort of thing. And all of them were well past 25.
A lot of painters got famous after they died.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it was just interesting to me because I think as somebody I'm 27, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I need to have my shit figured out by the time I'm 30. Or I thought I'd have it more figured out by 27. And it's this constant reminder that life is we're always evolving and growing.
For sure. No, and I'll tell you, when I was 27, I think I was quitting cigarettes my first time. What is that for me? 2000. Yeah, that would have been around 2000. Yeah, so 27 is when I I needed to quit cigarettes. I started riding the bike. I needed to get something going. And I think, at some point in time, whether it's 27 or it's 17 or it's 37 or it's 47, I think that it's, everybody's posed with two challenges is the whole get my act together, get my things together. What am I doing in my life kind of plan? But then it's the sustaining of that plan or the sticking to it. And, I was talking to one of my friends the other day who said, you got to be very careful when you wish something from the universe. And this is about as hokey as I get, as far as, is there a path? Is there a thread? Can you, if somebody's your destiny, well, is that pre-written? Can you avoid it? I'm not getting philosophical on that, but they were talking about how, you don't want to ask for something in generalities because the universe will provide in its own way. So, I remember I used to say, well, if I can just do jiu-jitsu, yoga, and meditation for the rest of my life, I'll be good. Yeah. I don't need anything else. So suddenly, like, car breaks down, no job, like just, everything is just like debt, but, I'm still living, but I'm living on friends' couches or this, and I'm not starving, I'm being taken care of, but so all I'm doing is those things. So I got my wish, but I'm like you kind of get hit with a frying pan over the head sometimes. So I think, you got to be very specific with your, what you wish for from the universe. And then I think it's sticking to it. And that's, for me, my personal thing as far as, that, you need to, even if you get that feeling at 17, stick with it. If you get it at 27, stick with it. 30, whatever it is, stick with it, because I have the bad habit of talking myself out of things that seemingly are good.
Yeah.
Obstacle or no obstacle in its path, and then I'm like, oh, it's an obstacle. You might as well give up. You might why bother? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should always bother. You should always get that impetus to, I guess, strive in any capacity, whether even if it's hindsight that's teaching you to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really good advice. I think it's interesting just to think about how life can take you on these like crazy different paths that you might never expect. Like if somebody had told you when you were 27 that in 15 years you'd be a successful yoga teacher.
I don't know if I'm successful, so first of all, no, I don't. I mean, here's it. I'll say this: I'm successful enough that I'm not doing anything else, but I'm also very blessed with good, supportive friends. So I think that I have that, and I'm successful in the sense that I teach X amount of classes per week. I have X amount of private clients that have been with me for longer than 3 months, which is kind of nice to have that consistency, or start to.
Yeah.
And if that's my 2-3 year out, coming up on my 3 years, great. I mean, I've never held a job for more than 2-3 years. I mean, the cab driving for 5 years, that was just no offense to cab drivers or Uber drivers, but if you ever want like the most mindless task to go from point A to point B forever, and you like driving, that is a job for you. You can just go out of your head, point A to point B, somebody gets in, gets out, that's it, move on, and there's no real anything for it. It's just this low, in a sense.
Yeah.
Go do it. And I mean, that has its own particular zen too, but otherwise, most jobs I've left after about 2-3 years, I just get antsy. This one, I'm not getting antsy out of it. I do get some kind of selfish, visceral reaction from somebody having, oh, I get it. Like I've said the same thing like a dozen times, and suddenly on the 12th one, they're like, oh,
Yeah,
so,
like that aha moment.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, I don't know. So to that degree, I suppose if that's how success is measured, perhaps that's minor glimpses of success. But what was the question again? I got caught up on the word success because I don't want to.
So I want to touch on the thing that you said about success, because I think that it's something that coming from, I have a business degree, and they kind of tell you what success should look like when you're in business school, and it's, getting up to like the VP executive level in some big corporation, or it can be all these different things. And what I've learned and what I believe now is that success is however you measure success. And I mean,
right.
I look at you and I see somebody who's doing some really cool things and who's successful with their teaching.
And I look, and if only I could take how you look at me and look at myself that way as a compensation. I mean, but that's, I was thinking about that today is how do you, there's such a feedback with the service industry where, literally like, if I'm here and I'm not paying attention to people, to the people in the class, that creates a vibe to them. And if they're in between down dogs playing with their cell phone for whatever God reason, I got to work to let it go, because it's just like, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What's going on with me? So I think there's a give and take more than if you talk about business where there's a manufacturing with a product where there's not necessarily an emotional, visceral involvement in the giving over of the product to somebody else to purchase, but in the service industry, I think there's that social aspect, which to me is rewarding, challenging, eviscerating at the same time. So I suppose success would be measured if I just keep persevering in that path and keep learning and keep going and move forward. I mean, I want to get higher certifications and take more courses and workshops, maybe even just start, going back to school and things like that. I mean, but stabilizing as a yoga teacher, I think financially would be the first step. And it's difficult going from such a, you talk about corporate jobs where you can be making literally easily with a college degree 3 to 4 times what you'd be making first year, 2, 3 years out as a yoga teacher, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. More stability.
So,
you know how much money you're making in a month.
Right, yeah.
Vacation.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, and that will so vacation, exactly. It's like it isn't paid. It's like you're losing money. Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to go away for a week, not only am I losing the money that I'm spending to go away for that week, but I'm also losing the money that I would have had working for that week.
Yeah.
And that's a choice that you make. That's willful.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know whether this is luckily, but I'm not married. I don't have kids. Mm-hmm. So it's easy.
Yeah.
To a certain degree because it's just me. I mean, I have friends with kids, not a shot. Can they pull that off? I don't think. Very difficult. Or very incredibly difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's weird. So so thank you to that success point, and hopefully it'll be where I'm not living in a shoe.
Living in a shoe is not ideal. Homeless yoga teacher.
Yeah, no. I mean,
start a new podcast for that.
Right. Yeah.
I think the original question I asked you was if somebody had told you 15 years ago that you'd be where you are today.
So I'm end of the month. I'm at early June. I'm going to my college 20-year reunion, which and I'm volunteered me to teach yoga classes there for the alums.
Yeah.
Or alums. I think is the
same.
And I think that if I don't know how I'm remembered, but I'm assuming I'm remembered because as a cigarette smoker, coffee drinker, I don't know what other adjectives somebody wants to throw in there. I had a friend from college tell me that, this was in my late 20s when I first tried to quit cigarettes, and it took me 3 times to quit, but she told me, she's like, I don't remember you. She was like, Yochai, I don't remember you without a cigarette in your mouth. And that was the first time that blew my mind. And, you look back on 2-3 packs a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like every 20, 30 minutes you're smoking a cigarette. And it's just it's always there. And then the cup of coffee is there, 30 cups a day of coffee, 2 to 3 packs a day of cigarettes. Let's say even 2 or 2.5, 50 cigarettes. Can't even comprehend going through that many. And that was my life. That was college. So going back there, I think, not from 27, but from 22, and 20 years later, I don't think anybody expected, let alone me, that I would be doing this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I look back, I remember being in college, looking back on my more formative years, where I know I was more health-minded, athletically inclined, just cared, wanted to work out, wanted to be of healthy mind and body and spirit, was always looking for that. And I remember being in college, being frustrated that I couldn't work out anymore. I just didn't have the impetus the same way that I had years earlier.
Yeah.
And that was probably the cycle. Oh, let me smoke cigarettes, let me drink coffee, and then of course my body's not going to want to work out.
Well, you've got no appetite, you're not eating properly.
No appetite, not eating properly,
not sleeping well.
Yeah, not sleeping. Oh, for sure, not sleeping well. I was DJing at a club, and I was going to school. Nighttime that I was hallucinating on the road as I'm driving up to upstate New York. I mean, feeling overtired so much. So there's that world, and I remember feeling something was off. Mm-hmm. So in a weird way, I think that I was, we were talking about when do we want to grasp and seize the moments. Is I think I've always been either avoiding this path or not embracing it or not knowing that this is where I always should have been, coulda, woulda, whatever. Yeah. And finally, it's just all right, you go there. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a shame you didn't do it 20 years ago. It's a shame you didn't do it, whatever. But
it's your path, though, right?
Yeah. It's like the path. We're talking about destiny and fate and all that. Let's say you have a path and you stray from that path. Mm-hmm. The irony of straying off one's destined path.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that does happen, that you stray off the path and maybe you come back and you intersect it, or maybe you've just gone so far off the deep end And how long does it take it? Can you even get through it? Is there a semblance? Is there a memory of where it is? You can't go back to you start, so you have to beeline across whatever treacherous terrain you've went from, or not treacherous terrain, maybe whatever other kind of terrain, to come back. I mean, metaphorically speaking, maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. It's like, you just never know, right? You don't know if that's part of the windy road getting to where you're supposed to be is part of it. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, because there's certain people that I wish were on that windy road with me, or that are at the end of that windy road. Mm-hmm. I think that yoga tends to offer me a little bit at times when I'm in accordance with it, in harmony with it, where I'm not fighting my destiny, my path, whatever it is, where I'm not resisting it, where I'm not arguing against it, where I'm not defeating it before it even blooms from a thought into a whisper into action.
Yeah.
If I don't let that happen and I keep at it, I mean, I'd like to think that I would have a refined vision of how things, quote, can be, should be. People always say things, I think that all the phrases out in the world are intended to make you feel better.
Yeah.
And if they don't make you feel better, then pick a different phrase.
Yeah.
That aspect, that freedom, that subjective freedom, to me, tells me that we are all willfully choosing to delude ourselves into whatever phrasing makes us feel better, such as take charge of your own life versus, if it was meant to be, it would be. Like, depending on the circumstances. And some people don't like phrases that other people say. There's one that I know my friend detests, which is that, God only gives you what you can handle, or whatever. There's that phrase out there.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, are you kidding me? Who asked for this? But it depends on their disposition. Other people, some people can look at their place in life, because medical and all that kind of stuff, and say, they're not thankful to be alive. They're still horrified that they ever lived.
Yeah.
Bad car accident, then you're just, wrecked. Then you're thinking, I should have died, rather than thank God I'm still alive.
Yeah.
The similar things, but what's going to make you feel better? And some people, we get addicted to whatever visceral, emotional, mental reaction we get out of those phrases. And I think it's important to just find the phrases that work well for you, that are good for you. Hopefully they're not violent and in rage or filled with anger or negativity. But find that, kind of like that North Star for you.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice.
Oh. Now all I need to do is follow it, right?
Yeah. It's always easier to say it than to follow it yourself. But.
I know. I feel like I'm like a fortune cookie. Right? Now you open a fortune cookie. What did the fortune cookie do? It's just got a note, and then you eat it, and there's no ownership of it. It's
a good analogy.
Right?
So coming back around to your progression as a yoga teacher, what are some of the biggest things that you learned when you started teaching, or that you know now?
I think when I started teaching, my first teacher, Rudy, who I still owe, it's almost like a crash course 101, just get you ready to teach, get you ready to do things. To quote him, he always talks about, first you imitate, then you integrate, then you can innovate. And I feel I'm only barely starting now getting involved in the integration process, where especially that first year of just trying to get through a class, almost through rote memorization of a script that I had written out for that particular class, where I think nowadays, as a result of my 300-hour training on top, is that I'm now looking at more specifically at bodies and watching, what are the bodies in the room doing, rather than sticking to the pre-formatted script, where I'm more fascinated about, why is Amanda able to come in with square hips and John has to, bring his foot a little bit out and bend it in order to make that same end posture happen? Why is that happening?
Yeah.
How can I get John to engage, recruit, let go. What can I do? Even if it's just words and saying to create that, like you were talking about before, that aha moment. So I think I'm starting to now, in terms of my own personal rhetoric from the things I read and the things I've absorbed and watch on YouTube, and so from all that, being able to kind of be, like, I know I'm not closing in any kind of, good closing way, but I think it's working to the person that's in the room, if that makes any sense. And that to me is the appeal. But keep in mind, if there's like 40 people in a room, how can you, that's overwhelming. Maybe you pick the biggest disasters in the room and you just make sure that nobody injures themselves. Well, I think tactfully that's your best that's your best option. You got 40 people in a room, 20 people. I think 19 for me, I start freaking out personally because it's just so much going on.
So much.
And so you have to let it go into a wash. My teacher, it's funny because Rudy was my teacher, and he has those like 80 people in a class. Jules, on the other hand, hones in on privates and more, kind of smaller groups because it allows for that honing. So I think I got the best of both worlds in that training.
Yeah.
Because both sides give me that option. Is you have the big wash for the room where everything, there's a flow and there's unison and you can go into it. And then when you have those 5-6 small groups, you can really fine tune, hold poses longer, take a 2-3 minute 4 workshop-esque part of regular class and that opportunity to be able to get people to improve their own personal practice, so they take something away from it to take home, to bring it somewhere else, to absorb for their own.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's something I can relate to, like this idea of you kind of only know what you've been taught and you kind of project that out until you find what's like true and not true for you personally. Right. And that's sort of like the integrate, become more of a watching the room as opposed to just standing up and like leading the class. Yeah. And then innovating where you maybe develop your own styles or your own trainings.
Give me 20 years. But with the integration with, I think for me, especially over the last year, I really work on stepping away from any sequence. Not that I don't have the sequence down and I have the cues. I know that. Mm-hmm. But here's a generality. If everybody is doing the form, there's no reason to throw out a corrective cue just out of rhetoric. You got, let's say, 10 people in a room. If not a single one of them has their hips open and everybody's really refined, squaring in the hips, let's say in Virabhadrasana 3, and they're in Warrior 3. And so they got perfect T's and everybody's lengthening out. All the hips are in line. Everything is firm. They're shaking vigorously and everybody's sweating. It looks good. Yeah. For me to say right hip lines up with the left hip is irrelevant. They already know it. They already do it. And if I'm looking at them, I would realize, and if I'm having a relationship with the aspirants in the room, then they wouldn't. Then if I'm having a true relationship with the aspirant in the room, then I would not cue a cue that is extraneous or unnecessary. Yeah. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. If there's 3 people out of the thing or 2, then there it is. And then and what I like about the smaller is you have the opportunity to watch a person repeat. Will they change it on the next round? Will they not? If so, let's say you start off with 3 people, you do the corrective cue. 2 out of the 3 corrected, the third one doesn't. On the third time, then you can come up there on a closer level and just focus in and just say, how about this? And you try to maybe a more one-on-one verbal adjustment or a physical adjustment if you know them, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really, really good advice. I know I've been teaching a private once a week with 2 guys that I know. And I was teaching them last night, and I said a cue about squaring your hips. And because it's just the 3 of us, he's like, one of the guys was like, oh, are my hips not square? And I was like, oh, no, your hips are square. And then I looked at the other guy, and I was like, oh, your hips are square too. And then I realized that's exactly what I did. Like, I was not paying attention to what their bodies were actually doing. And I was like, oh, instead of beating myself up about it, I was just like, oh, that's a good like teaching, learning moment where it's like, I just said it because it's a cue that I would normally say in a class of, 10 or 15 people, because somebody probably has their hip not square.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go, but there you're just shooting for odds.
Yeah.
But you're talking about not beating yourself up. That's the other thing as a teacher. And I don't have I need a better commodity exchange. 12 positive, so here's the problem. Somebody giving you positive feedback versus negative feedback, let's say. Technically, they did the work, right? I mean, you're just up there making suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did the work. They're giving you positive feedback or negative feedback. Okay, if you want to let the feedback in, at least have a 1-to-1 ratio. But I have the tendency, it's like 12 positive feedbacks. I got weighted in a scale, and then one person tells me one bad thing. Maybe they even had a bad day. Who knows? Real, personal, my fault, their fault, both of our faults. The yoga god's involved. Who knows what it is? Yeah. Will completely offset the 12. And I think this was one of my first couple of months when I moved to Atlanta, and I'm subbing for one of the studio owners, and it's like a full class. So it's like maybe, I don't know, almost 20 people, full class, like. And I'm with my New York accent, because and I have obviously a gift of gab, and I've been told I talk fast, even though I don't hear myself as speaking fast. So I'm walking around, and somebody out of nowhere, I think it was in the corner of the room, yells out. He goes, "You're talking too fast." And I'm like, oh, all right. And I started slowing down and da-da-da-da. And I think 10, 15 minutes later, they go, and they're a down dog. And he's like, "Now you're talking too much." And I was just horrified.
Yeah. I mean,
but
that rarely happens where somebody will speak that directly in a class.
That was amazing. It was funny. I'm like, all right. But, I think, in my teacher training, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was the restorative class. Yeah. Because you put people in a restorative, and then you have to just shut up for at least 5 minutes, if not 10. Yeah. Just watch, and then just watch the bodies just move. Don't play on your phone. You just set this up. 6 people, restorative posture. What's going on with them? Learn from that. That's an opportunity for me to shut up, them to be absorbed in the posture, and there still can be that relationship. Yeah. That's what I'm working on. So like you said, we're always evolving, always something to learn. So, hopefully there'll be they're better in the future there. So giving people in a regular flow class the breath, being a down dog, don't have to say anything. I don't have to give the laundry list of rhetoric cues. Yeah. Yeah. Restorative
is really hard to teach, leaving the space
for
people
difficult.
to just go inwards.
Very difficult. And
especially if you're used to teaching a flow class where you're kind of cueing constantly. It feels like you're almost not doing your job.
Right. And that's because your job was done. Yeah. And then let gravity take the job, let the breath work, and let them work. And even in a regular flow class, especially if you know everybody in the room, they've come to you half a dozen times before. You already recognize their face. You may not know their name, but you know who they are. Yeah. Is there a real reason if everybody's down dog looks really nice? Yeah. If all the cues are done, I mean, granted, maybe some, you see some people shimmering, but do you have to go after the shoulder? Do you have to go after every joint position? They already know it. They've done it dozens of times. And the ability to take that step back much in a restorative way and just not say anything. All right, maybe there's just one time. Let them find a flow on their own. Let them breathe on their own. And that's really what I've noticed, I think that's why sometimes, I like going to an Ashtanga, Mysore class that they have here in the studio in the mornings, because there it's my own thing, and I go slow and my own pace, my own,
Yeah, you just move through the poses without being guided, and you have somebody to just sort of adjust and help you.
So I think that's what I like as well, and I've been trying to do more of that stuff also in the regular practice where, let's set up a flow, run through it the first time myopically, 2 more times flowing through it, and then just 1 or 2 more times. Have at it. Yeah. Let people mess up the pose. Let people mess up the thing. You know, not mess up, but I mean, in a non-injurious way. Like mess up in because sometimes you'll see people and they'll screw up. You know, let's say Sunday, they're starting out yoga, and I'll have a client and she'll forget the Ardha Uttanasana, the halfway fold before they come into the vinyasa. Yeah. And she go, oh shit, and I'm like, what are you?
It doesn't matter.
Calm down. Take it. You'll be doing so many more of them. Who cares about that one transition? Mm-hmm. You recognize the diligence. Let it go. Learn. Move on. Next one. You know.
Yeah.
And philosophically, that's speaking, like, you know, it's almost like we were talking about life. Do you start at 17, 27? All right, fine. Stop with the oh shit. Now what? Do you just stop? And I'll admit this. I mean, there's been times where I will start a practice. I'll be there. I'll get it ready. Mm-hmm. And then, like, I don't know, third sun salutation B, some thought has been burrowing into my head, just bothering me. And it just, for whatever reason, that day, I just went into child's pose.
Yeah.
For the rest of the practice, and then I just went to Shavasana. And if I let that beat me up, then the next day, I'm gonna do a lesser practice.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I had a conversation with a teacher about that, where they were talking about that it's such a slippery slope on the avalanche.
Yeah.
That the second, it's not even whether or not you practice every day or not practice every day. It's your mental and emotional relationship with your practice, with your personal devotion to it. And if you're giving yourself grief over it,
like give yourself the space.
Yeah, give yourself a space. Like, it's like if you're giving yourself a hard time for that, it's just gonna mentally affect you the next time.
Yeah.
And then you're just not gonna do it, and then it's just gonna erode and then destroy and then corrode. Does that make sense? And then you step away from it, and then you're so habitually away from it that you don't move, and you just say, whatever, and you resign yourself to the apathy. You resign yourself to resignation. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not trying to be cute about it, but there it is. But and I think I think for me it's more of a mental game than anything else.
Yeah.
Mental and emotional. The physicality for me is secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well. It's kind of interesting too, because I feel like the practice, like a personal practice, is so important when you're a teacher. And
right, and I was talking to another teacher about that. And when you have a client, so for me, two things with that. When you have a client at 6 a.m. and let's say normally, do you take the client at 6 a.m. or do you say no and you respect your own practice at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, of course, choose the client because any excuse not to practice at 6 a.m. would be good. But
it's also your livelihood.
Right. And it's like my livelihood, so there's the iron. But so I have to practice whenever I can do it. Mm-hmm. Now, if I get a busy schedule, I have to find the slots to be able to practice or find some kind of practice, whether it's 20 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, even if it's just sitting for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Let me work on pranayama. Let me just do something instead of inanely doing something that produces nothing, or overexerting myself in a fashion that doesn't give me my own space, doesn't give me my own quiet time, doesn't give me my own recharge. Yeah. And that's where that's my struggle, is finding that time, finding that space to do it. Because then you end up feeling inauthentic as well if you're not practicing.
Totally. Do you have any suggestions, like ways that you schedule your practice in? Because I know there's a lot of people who teach like 10 to 20 classes a week.
Yeah, unfortunately not for me. Unfortunately not for me, and I probably should. Mm-hmm. In a should, could, would, I probably should be more organized. I probably should have a schedule. But here's an example. So yesterday, I had a morning private. I had then a class, and then I'm done, and I'm supposed to meet back-to-back privates in the studio as sisters, back-to-back. So they don't want together. They just come together, but I'm like, all right, back-to-back. And they kept postponing it, and they booked me before, so it's not like it's a new client where it's just going to frustrate me. I mean, they booked me plenty before, so it's fine. Yeah. But they literally canceled on me like 4 hours notice, 5 hours, actually not even, like less than that. I was already in the studio. I came in and they said, I'm sorry, we can't make it. I could have stayed where I was, but I decided, okay, well, I'm here. I was already going to spend the 2 hours on somebody else.
Yeah.
Am I going to be frustrated and I'll be like, oh, and this, and just bury my... No, I'm going to... Okay, well, there's a blessing. There's 2 hours of a blessing.
Yeah.
Where now I have time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think for me, that's definitely where I try not to spit in the face of the universe. It's like, well, if the universe is giving me 2 hours, there it is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the universe answering my prayer, saying, I need to practice, I need to get ready, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. And then do I take it or do I not take it? That's the choice, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me it's like this, my laptop is like a constant distraction for me. So it's like, sure. Do I sit on Facebook or YouTube or do I get on my mat?
So I think the question, once you recognize that, and for me, I'll bury myself. Yeah, it's all... And I'm going to say this word usually, so don't use this against me, and don't make this the headline. But I think all those things are masturbatory because on a certain level it's very short.
Yeah.
There is a definite gratification. There's an immediate. It's almost like a you just had a piece of chocolate. You got the spike.
Yeah.
You got the high.
Yeah.
And then it just dissipates. And then you, depending on the type of person you are, you might feel guilty for having spent the time, the 15 minutes for that. Or you might be like, oh, let's do it again for another 15 minutes, and you go again. But it yields in nothing. Like no amount of Facebook throughout the day, or no amount of Instagram throughout the day. I mean, like it's just, you might as well just Candy Crush it. Or do something. I mean, I'm not saying to do that is bad. Yeah. I'm saying, let's just recognize it for what it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I'm sure there's people that go to the gym because for the same reasons as other people go on Facebook, is to just and so they become dependent on it. And I think the question within any yoga practice is this: let's say you have a solid yoga practice, and I know some people that have a solid. I mean, they are amazingly inspiring yogis and yoginis. Or even some people who are very diligent in any kind of practice, whether it's the gym, whether it's swimming, cycling, whatever it is that they are disciplined to. I think the question that we all have to ask ourselves is if I'm off of that for whatever unspeakable reason, if I'm off my pattern for a day, am I okay? If I'm off my pattern for 2 days, am I okay? How many days off the pattern before it takes me to lose my shit? It's a
podcast, you can swear.
Okay, lose my shit completely. And I think that to me is the real challenge. Yeah. When I was a smoker, the second I put that cigarette out, I was technically a not smoker. I was not smoking. I was no longer a smoker. The instant the instant I'm not doing the action, I'm no longer that. So, and sometimes people get nervous in that identification. If I'm not doing this, then am I? Well, you can still be. Are you defined by your actions? Are you defined? Yeah. And I know certain people. It's like literally, if they do not hit their practice, and they're faced with a trigger. God, they will get triggered. They will plummet. I plummet. But, how do you process? How long does it take you to get out? Can you get back on that horse? How long will it take you? How much self-loathing or abuse, just get past it. And, easier said than done, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point to bring up because I know for me, like, yoga is kind of this, like, outlet for me, for, like, my energy, my emotions, and if I don't practice for a couple days, it just builds up.
It builds up.
Yeah,
I for sure feel a difference between when I don't practice for 3-4 days. But the question is, so when I go out there in traffic, or when I'm faced with somebody who's online, who's just being an ass, or who I think is being an ass, or the question, maybe I'm the one being an ass, and I just am short-fused and I don't realize it.
Yeah.
How is my disposition to others? How's my disposition to myself? How am I going to get affected? And I mean, can you not bring bad energy into the room? Can you not do this? I mean, as a yoga, I've been on a phone call that turned out to be unpleasant.
Yeah.
Didn't intend for it to be unpleasant. This was like back, I don't know, September, October of 2015.
Yeah.
I'm on a phone call. Didn't mean for it to be unpleasant. I figured I had 45 minutes before, class. I'm on my way there. I might as well be in the car driving and have this phone call and just, whatever, just get it over with and just, and the phone call was really more about me just trying to be honestly expressing myself in a relationship, the relation with a person. And, and I'm like, hey, this is blah. And then it just goes sideways. Yeah. And maybe the fact that I was in a car makes me not in the most calmest of places to handle a phone call like that.
Yeah, there's distractions.
But it went all those things. And the question is how fast can it come back to center? How fast after I completely lose it for whatever the reasons were?
Yeah.
How long does it take me to come back to a center where I'm not bringing that into this room when other people are coming to get rid of that very same thing? And I haven't practiced. Yeah. I woke up in the morning with a bunch of stuff, avalanches, who knows what happened, earthquake, who the hell, and it happens. Yeah. What do? Can you find grace? Can you find yoga in that moment? No physicality. Just can you find that?
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's like one of the beautiful things about the yoga practice, progressing from something that's just like physical asana, shapes with your body, getting a workout if that's like what you want, to something that actually like changes your life in a bigger way and impacts your life in a bigger way. It's like when you're sitting in traffic and it's rush hour, are you that person who's like yelling at other people who also can't move and slamming on your horn? Or are you just like, whatever, I'll turn on the radio and just, listen to some Justin Bieber because I can't do anything about this situation.
Right. I don't know if Justin Bieber would calm me down, but that's just me.
You're not Canadian.
Yeah. Is that what, is he big in Canada? All right.
He's Canadian.
Is that what it is? He's Canadian. I never knew that. All right. Maybe that's, but yeah, I think that there are some people that I think, this is like one of those judgy things because maybe I'm one of those people to other people. How about that? Yeah. But there are some people out there that I would not want to see them off their yoga practice. I would be scared. I'd be running for the hills. It's like if they're that way now, God knows what they'll be off of it. There was a meditation teacher that I used to hang out with. Yeah. I still do every once in a while. When I first met him, he came to my yoga class, blah, blah, blah. Let's hang out. And so I'm trying to get my meditation practice going back up. I waned for a while. I'm like, okay, I got this closing week kind of thing. Start the week, close the week. Start the meditation. Maybe that'll give me the impetus for the daily practice back again. Yeah. I go to the meditation thing. It's a 45-minute sit. I'm diligent. I'm doing it. I'm there. I got my breath. I'm calm. Nice. Weeks I'm attending. Hello, Yochai. Oh, hello. Nice to see you again. Oh, yeah, you're here. Everything's all calm. So 1 week, he says, would you like to go grab a bite to eat? I go, oh, well, that'll be nice. I like that. That's nice because he knew I was walking there. And it's like we get into his car. It's a little one of those sporty cars. And I haven't had to hold the oh shit handle in quite some time. But he's honking, he's swerving, like leaving a wake of disaster behind him on the way to like dinner, which is like 2 miles away.
Oh my gosh.
And we just got out of meditation. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then we're in this restaurant where you can still smoke cigarettes in, and it's like some kind of, I don't know, some Mexican fusion hybrid. It was just like the biggest burrito I've ever seen any man eat. I mean, not that I'm criticizing burritos. I mean, like, I'm sure they're healthy and it's nice, whatever, but it was just such a weird contrast for the ambiance. Yeah. And I think it brings to attention to me the idea of balance versus centered. Yeah. And I don't think they're synonyms. I don't think being balanced is necessarily being centered. Whereas I think being centered, you're balanced in a sense, I think. Okay. I have friends that literally will work out 2 to 3 hours a day. Wow. 5 days a week so they can party like rock stars on the weekends. Like serious, like for real, like college style party, like except now they're adults with more money, which lends to itself more dangerous kind of
definitely
type of
bottle service.
Bottle. I mean, just ridiculous, but like just going on, and they view their life as that they're centered. They say, we're balanced. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to sprint back and forth on that seesaw.
Yeah.
I'd rather be teetering on the edge, a little here, a little there. Now, granted, maybe I won't have such an exciting life with highs and lows, but you know what? I don't need a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Some people do. Some people want it. That's fine, but know that that's what you're going after.
Yeah.
I don't want. While I may have the proclivity to it, I think that's the right word. Proclivity, tendency towards.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, look it up, and if it's not, cut it out. But I may have that perhaps in my nature nurture, but I don't think it's necessarily the healthiest way for me to personally go.
Yeah.
But because I know how inclined I am to binge. 2-3 packs of cigarettes a day, 30 cups of coffee. Who does that? I mean, if I'll go to Trader Joe's, if I get 2 or 3 bags of those dried mangoes, you better believe I'm killing them all probably within that day, if not that one sitting. I'll have the intention of, spreading it out, but no. I mean, after 10, 15 years of knowing me, of trying to become more self-aware, I should know better than that. So nowadays, I only buy 1 bag because I know I'm going to kill it, but at least I'm not giving myself some 200 milligrams of sugar in 45 minutes going into like potential diastolic shock as a 42-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
So I think those are the kind of, that's about as extreme as I get with my being balanced nowadays.
Yeah.
I'd rather be centered.
Yeah.
That makes any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think the yoga offers that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The yoga practice offers that.
Yeah, I love that. And so you've started your own business, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any advice around that for people who? Because that's something that I know we've talked about, that you think it's pretty important if you want to be sort of like a full-time yoga teacher, is to sort of have. Yeah,
so I have my own LLC. I think that I didn't think through the business plan as much, and I don't think I made investments. And by investment, I mean like in terms of resources. I would definitely take if you're doing it on the cheap, you're doing it on the cheap, in which case do it yourself. Mm-hmm. But if you have let's say $4 or $5 grand, get a lawyer, get everything done just at once and just bang it out, rather than trying to figure it out piecemeal. Unless you want to figure it out piecemeal and then you do it all in one full swoop. So definitely do that. Figure out your taxes earlier.
Yeah. Because there's quite a few tax exemptions as a yoga teacher.
Yeah, and there's figure out what you need.
Yeah.
And I think that figure out a way to be able to, and this is what I'm working on, is if I get sick, I can't get sick.
Yeah.
If I get injured, I can't get injured. You right?
Yeah.
I break my arm, I can't. I gotta come into work. I gotta be able to cue.
Yeah.
I gotta be able to
teach. Yeah.
I gotta be able to teach. If I get sick, 103-degree fever. I mean, I'm not coming in with 103-degree fever, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think online, and I'm not good at this, and the reason why I'm not good is the whole balancing one's own ego with humility, as well as having like some kind of fan base, which you probably deal with, in the sense of your fans are that which give you power. You can't exercise that power on your own, or else the fans will take it away from you. They will revolt. Yeah. There's a nice symbiotic relationship, but they'll also want to give it to you. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I used to be a DJ, people would. I remember I would practice really, really hard at something that was planned, but then I would notice every bad mistake. Yeah. So when people came out to me and go, "Yo, that was awesome," I wouldn't let it in. I would reject it.
Yeah.
Bad way to go. Mm-hmm. And then when I would wing it, because I was just like, I didn't have time to practice, and I would just wing it, and somebody came out and go, "Oh, that was awesome." Once again, I wouldn't let it in, because I just winged it. What do they know?
Yeah.
Instead of just letting it in, saying thank you, having that, come back and see me. Yeah, we'll see you again. Come back to the next party. it probably came off fairly dickish to them.
Yeah.
I didn't intend for it to come off that way, but it did.
Yeah.
Looking back. So I think that when you have your own thing, developing a brand and a personality, I think is an effort that I'm still struggling with, because how do I put myself out there in an honest way, with thoughtfulness, with plan, that seems off the cuff, even though it's not, that it is a plan, it's informative, it's this, there's, all the energy that people are attracted to in the regular day-to-day interactions. How can you express that in a way online through videos where it can generate you revenue, so that in case you are sick, in case you are debilitated, in case you want to be able to take a vacation, do you have something that is coming into you, into the business, whether it's products, whether it's services, that does not require your actual physical presence.
Yeah.
I think that if I could have set that up a little bit beforehand, even just a small 3-4 item product line to invest in when I had more money to invest, that could be something that generates revenue, because it's most of the products in yoga, it's not like they're going to go, there's no, it's not like fruit. It doesn't go bad.
Yeah.
It just stays there.
Yeah, having some sort of product line or something, like items that you can sell that'll be sort of your backup if you do need to take a week off because you're sick, or say something happens with your family or something like that.
Exactly. So let's say if you can get something where, and I won't even know what this would take, but something that generates, let's say, somewhere, even let's say lowball it.
Yeah.
Somewhere between $150 to $250 a week of revenue. So let's say you need to take 2 weeks off. You're not out, it's not debilitating. It's not hitting you so hard.
Yeah.
So you at least have some kind of little bit of a cushion, a few $100. I'm not limiting it to the few $100. I mean, if it's a few thousand, whatever it is.
Yeah. Just having something
just
small,
something,
at least.
just something that's coming in.
Yeah. And so a few key things for growing your business. You have a website.
I do, and I'm in the process of. I'm always in the process, right, of doing something.
Websites are always I feel like they're ongoing.
They are. I think that I hired somebody to help me work on it. Except that I just gave them a deposit, and I haven't sought them out since then. Yeah. I don't care. It's my own choice. Because I don't think, they asked me what the vision is, what the mission statement is.
Yeah.
And I got hung up on it. And you talking about you having a business degree. It's, I know that those things are important. I have a real struggle with defining the vision. And somebody will say, well, it's because you don't have one. I mean, it's not because I don't have one.
Yeah.
It's the ego that it takes to throw it out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, let me rephrase that. I don't know whether it's a confidence issue or if it's an ego issue. Maybe it's both. But for me, it's that I don't want it to come off as pretentious or egotistical.
Yeah.
I want to come off as just me.
Yeah.
I can't stop anybody from interpreting me as pretentious and egotistical, much as I couldn't do when I was a DJ and but if I can just have that mindful, honest relationship with myself, maybe it'll carry to others. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And then you have redemption and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm off the tracks. But regarding the website, get a website. WordPress, I would recommend WordPress.
Yeah, same.
I mean, everybody plays around with everything else. I think you're just going to end up being frustrated.
I don't know why people even try other things.
They try other things. They try other things because the other things show them things that they think can be done with it. It can't.
Yeah. Not
the way they want it.
Yeah.
WordPress is the most versatile.
User-friendly.
It's most user-friendly. Just use it. Don't even skip around to it. And I think on a basic level, how about this? Color scheme. Mm-hmm. Pick a good font.
Yeah.
And let the website breathe.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Sometimes you'll see websites, especially if they get more popular, because they want to generate ad revenue. So let's say you're a popular blog.
Okay, yeah.
It starts turning into something out of 1998, where there's like banners everywhere.
Yeah.
And so the question is, all right, look, is it possible for you to generate the same amount of ad revenue or ad space, but in a much less billboardy kind of way?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So I would say color scheme. Pick a good color scheme, something that's nice, pick a good font. Nowadays, you can pick almost any font you want.
Yeah, you can download so many for free too.
Yeah, you don't want a website to create anxiety. Some websites you go to is like anxiety.
People will just exit off of it. I feel like too if they're like, oh, this person's just trying to get me like click beta or whatever it is.
Yeah, clickbait.
Yeah, clickbait.
Yeah.
I'm curious about. So the yoga industry is primarily females. You're a male, obviously.
Yeah.
What has it been like to be a male in like a female world? And I don't say female world as in like yoga should be females. I think men should be practicing yoga just as much as women, especially because I know.
So it started off.
Yeah, Ashtanga
for men.
Yeah.
Women were not allowed, and then it moved away from that. I'm fine. I don't know. I don't know if it gives me an advantage or not advantage, but I'll say this: almost 5 years ago. Yoga Journal had their the first male on the cover, I think, in 7 years.
Wow.
There hasn't been a male on the cover of Yoga Journal in the last 5 years, except for this one guy 5 years ago. I wrote a letter to Yoga Journal, to the editor. They printed it in the magazine like a month or two later. I was very excited the day I got it. I was very happy. I actually posted it to Facebook, like, you know how they let you share the memories.
Yeah.
So I did that the other day. But that letter was, I'd like to see more male on the cover. No male has come on the cover of Yoga Journal since. Now, I mean, look, I'm not getting into I don't want to get into a gender issue this.
Yeah.
But I think that, for me, I think males offer the path for other males to come into yoga. I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for my teacher, Rudy, who's like 6 feet something, like Marine.
Yeah.
Bodybuilder, look up his profile. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I mean, his arms are the size of my legs. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the handlebar mustache, the antithesis of anything. I don't think I would have stayed in yoga if it was taught by some 4'11", wafy, 95 pound, palms flat on the floor, 6 a.m., gets into bird of paradise 5 minutes in, cold.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see that.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for me. It's going to be the guy that I go to and I say, listen, I got these shoulder issues, I got this thing. He goes, well, do it this way.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Because, and there's that. And hopefully I bring that type of strength and discipline to the yoga practice. And maybe that's the contrast because, I don't know, because maybe if it's a woman teacher, maybe she's just looking to just do her thing, in which case if she's bendy, she's expecting other women to be bendy, in which case then you have a room full of bendy people, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But, okay, so is strength being developed among that, or is it perpetuating a similar thing? Can we find strength and flexibility and in that unison? Can we find that work? So I think that males offer other males to get involved. I always get excited whenever somebody says, "Oh, I wish, I can get my husband involved." Anytime I hear that from any of members at the studio, I say, I offer. I mean, nobody's taking me up on it, but I offer. I will give you free couples.
Yeah.
I will, free couples. Cut that out. Free couples yoga mat, yoga class. Sorry.
So good.
Anyway, but a free couples yoga class just to get the guy involved. Oh, he'll never come. Why not? Well, he's not flexible. He'll never come because he feels intimidated by the other woman.
Yeah.
He'll never come because he doesn't want to embarrass himself.
Yeah.
Great. Give me him for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Get him confident in just moving through the body. Forget yoga. Forget women in tights. Forget that whole thing. Forget what it is.
Yeah.
Just get something going. You and your body. That's it.
Yeah. I love that.
So I think that it offers that. I think with athletes nowadays, yoga is becoming more popular among athletes as supportive to their cross training practice.
Totally.
So I hope that I can keep that male energy in the community going. I think there are few, but I hope that it brings a different type of practice to maybe even specifically to also women who are looking for a different type of flow rather than something else. I don't know. Maybe they're not looking to do Bird of Paradise 5 minutes in.
Cool. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Every woman is a dancer as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to it's not going to happen for me in my class. But I will tell you this: when I do get a dancer and I do get the bendy ones, I know that they're challenged because I know what their tendencies are going to be.
Yeah.
And I offset their tendency because the practice that I teach is different than they're going to get somewhere else, which is going to let them hips be wide open, all this other free-flowing kind of things. Mm-hmm. Not that that's bad, but can you go both ways? Yeah. Can you go from one extreme to the other? Can you find strength and flexibility? Can you be versatile in that approach?
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I just have one final question for you. We're running out of time.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I just know you have to teach shortly. Yeah. If you could give yourself one piece of advice from when you first started teaching that you know, from everything that you know now, what is that one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Journal everything.
Cool. Just keep track of everything that you're learning so you can go back and really put perspective on it.
Because I haven't journaled everything. I know that I wanted to record every single one of my classes, and I just never did. I recorded some. In terms of that, I know that I wanted to keep better track notes of my clients. Yeah. And I would not take notes immediately after I would have a session. Yeah. And then by the evening, I'm trying to be like, what the hell do we do? Yeah. And then I'm like faking it sort of like the next time.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Things like that. That's what I mean by journaling.
Yeah.
And something that processes the day and sticking to it. Yeah. And that relates back to what we were saying before.
Yeah, that's fabulous advice. Yeah. And if people want to find you, what's the best way to?
ZenHardYoga.com.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Yochai.
Thank you, Amanda.
Hopefully everyone enjoyed that episode. Definitely check out Yochai if you're in Southern U.S., Atlanta area. Otherwise, check them out online, ZenHardYoga.com. There'll be a link on the show notes at www.mbomyoga.com. And you can find updated blog posts there, new content coming out. And if you want to be up to date, you can sign up for the newsletter. You'll get a free copy of my ebook. And then definitely follow me along on social media. And as always, thanks so much for listening, and namaste.